All right, first YouTube video. Pretty excited. Gonna be out here today fishing for bass. If that doesn't work out, some bluegill. I think I'm probably gonna end up catching a lot of bluegill though, because it's midsummer time right now. It's like 100 degrees. It's super hot out here. Bluebird skies. It's just not the right time of year to catch bass. They're gonna be down deep. They just got done spawning, so they're gonna be down deep in colder water. They're probably pretty sluggish right now. I'll try to catch them on one of these. It's just a little, hang on if I can get it to focus. Yeah, just a little bluegill pattern crankbait. And then a slow moving worm. If that doesn't work, I'll just switch to bluegill. This is a Corrado DC 6:2-to-1 gear ratio and a Corrado DC 7.4-to-1 gear ratio on Ducket Triad rods. I believe we have a 7.4 and then a 6, I want to say a 6.9 rod. But that's my setup for today, and then I'll let y'all know if I switch over to catching bluegill. All right, guys, we caught our first fish. This is just a little largemouth bass, main sport fish here in Texas. Call it the largemouth bass because look at that little mouth. That just inhales minnows. He's slow, he's tired. I caught on that Texas rig worm. He was down deep, hugging some structure. Structure's just logs, anything those fish can get by. Yeah, it feels pretty good to get the first one. Gonna let this little guy go. There he goes, swim off. It's always good to let him go. Always good to let him swim back. So I was talking about how it's always important to let him go. Fish, especially in a small creek like this, those fish are gonna grow up to be breeder fish. It's always important to maintain those healthy numbers, that healthy population. A lot of times people talk about fishermen and hunters and they think like, oh, they don't really care about the environment, they're taking fish, they're killing animals. I'd say hunters and fishermen can be some of the biggest conservationists there is. They want to see these environments flourish. They want to have the next generation be able to have these environments. This is, I mean, it's, yeah, who shouldn't care for this? All right, guys, something kind of cool you can see there is a common snapping turtle. In Texas, we have alligator snapping turtle and common snapping turtle. The alligator snapping turtle is normally a bit more vicious. That's what people know the snapping turtle by. It's got the big, sharp, pointy mouth and the spikes all on its shell. This is common snapping turtle, so it's got the flat shell. But it's a more proactive hunter. It's gonna go out and look for fish to eat, where alligator snapping turtle, they're gonna sit there and they have a little tongue in their mouth that looks like a worm, and it's gonna draw in fish, and then once the fish comes in, just bang, they're gonna close their mouth on it. So common snapping turtles, they're gonna be more proactive in their hunting, and alligator snapping turtles, they're gonna be a little bit more lazy about it. But yeah, just something cool I want to share with y'all. All right, guys, I'm back with my second fish. I had to switch it up a little bit from bass to bluegill. Bluegill's the main, Bluegill's kind of the main forage fish here in Texas. This is what those bass are going to be eating. You'll notice earlier in the video when I showed you I was going to be using a crankbait, it had the same pattern on it as this, and I'll show you here in a second. You can tell by his colors, all that blue on him. He just got done spawning. So when I caught him, he was actually on his spawning flat, which is where they make their beds. They take their tail and fan out gravel and stuff, and they'll lay their eggs there. He just got done spawning. He's still got those colors on him. He's just a very beautiful fish. I'm gonna let him go. Okay. Swam off. There we go. That's what you'll love to see. So those bluegill that I was just talking about, they're pretty abundant here. They're gonna be your main predator or prey fish. They normally spawn in the summer after the bass do their spawn. And those are what they're gonna eat, bass eggs. So bass hate those things. But they're pretty abundant. You'll see them a lot of times in the southern states more than you will the northern states, just because they do a lot better in warmer weather. So Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Alabama, Georgia, Mississippi, that's where they're pretty common. I don't know about Florida. I think the invasive species, you kind of take them over there. But here, this crankbait has the exact same pattern on it as that bluegill I just caught, and that's called match the hatch. So the bluegill's what's hatching right now. That's what's spawning. You're gonna want to try and match that, because that's what the bass are gonna be eating. Just caught it on this little jig. Bluegill are very opportunistic feeders. They're not predator fish like bass. So if a bug lands on the water or a minnow swims in front of their face, that's what they're gonna eat. But they're not actively hunting and seeking food. They're just, if something's there, they'll eat it. I know they'll also eat algae, plants, stuff like that. But something small like this will normally do the trick. All right, got another bluegill. This one's a bit different. Its coloration's a bit different. It's got that yellow belly to it. It's just a male rather to a female. Nothing really different about that than just the coloration. It's starting to get pretty hot out here. It's about, say 100 degrees. So not ideal conditions for bass, but these bluegill, they'll always be biting. I think I might wrap it up here in a bit because it's pretty hot. I'm gonna let them go. You see that shallow water right there? That's their spawning flat. You'll see some bluegill right over there. There's one swimming right now. That shallow water is their spawning flat. They clear out all that with their tail, and that's where they're gonna lay their eggs. We'll let you go, little guy. There you go, awesome, swim back. So I was actually just talking about structure, and look what I caught on that structure. That same little jig, just a smaller bass, that big, well, this one's not that big, so his mouth isn't gonna be that big. That big mouth, but yeah, pretty sweet. Toss him back, watch him swim off. And there he goes. Awesome. I'm gonna wrap it up. It's getting hot out here. All right, first YouTube video in the books. I kind of like this. I got to just talk about all the things that I love. Just fishing and all the different fish and how they work and how their ecosystem works, how they're made. That's actually where I'm going to college to study, so I'm pretty excited about that. But I might do another one of these. This was pretty fun. It's hot out here. I think I'm gonna go get Taco Bell. Remember, like and subscribe. Can I get the burrito Crunchwrap Supreme?
The Crunchwrap Supreme?
Yeah. It's a bluegill. It is the main forage fish here in Texas.